can't believe I have to keep making videos like this. It just shows how dumb the Singapore bus community is. So I guess I'm gonna just explain why several routes are picked as MRT redundancy bus services. Let's start with East-West Line. I was gonna say EWL, but I better specify East-West Line. Let's cut that in. Okay. Anyway, Clementi, Dover, Buena Vista. And then here is Joo Koon. You would notice that Boon Lay Way, especially in between Jurong East and Lakeside, the southern part of the route, the southern part of like this area is Jurong Lake. Like, you know, Chinese gardens, Japanese gardens. Nobody like lives there, and everybody that's like that lives along Boon Lay Way, they would be living along the northern side of the road and not the southern side. So because of that, there is like limited demand, and the actual demand in this area is actually, that's why almost all the services bar this and this, and you might even say this. I mean, 872 technically links from here to here. 335 is a similar thing. It links vertically, whereas 180 is the only one that runs horizontally to Bukit Panjang. Used to run to Woodlands, then it got truncated to Bukit Panjang. So yeah. So because of that, like Jurong West Avenue 1. So JW Avenue 1, I'm just gonna say JW, and JE Avenue 1. This is where most of the people are concentrated around. So it makes no sense for a bus route from, let's say, Buena Vista to Boon Lay or Joo Koon to run just straight and completely duplicate the East-West Line, because this one is the East-West Line's own corridor. So what the bus services, the MRT redundancy bus services, do is that 99 in itself is not just an MRT redundancy bus service. It's not just that. Normally it has its like own use. I mean, just study the route, you would understand like its use. But as an MRT redundancy bus route, it is supposed to bridge Clementi, and then there is JE as well, because 99 technically touches JE. It's supposed to go Clementi, JE, and then go along this corridor like Jurong Town Hall Road, and then it's supposed to like wind inside Jurong West, and then finally it gets extended to Joo Koon. It used to loop, then it got extended to Joo Koon. And then there is 185, the current generation of 185. I'm not talking about the one that used to go to Shenton Way. The current generation of 185, it has more parallels, like Buena Vista, Dover, Clementi, and then at Avenue 6, this one turns up earlier, like this. Stupid. Then it goes on along the same corridor, and then this one diverges away from 99 a little bit, and then it goes to Soon Lee Bus Park. So both of them, they have similar purposes. It's to bring people from East-West Line to their homes. So you can kind of say it's acting like a feeder bus in several aspects of the route, but it's still a trunk service. It's just that when you talk about MRT redundancy, it means that like people, in this case, they don't have to like take the bus all the way to Boon Lay and then transfer to like a feeder service like 242, 243. No. They are able to bring you from Jurong West all the way as far as like Clementi, and then 185 as far as Buena Vista. So if the MRT happens to go down, obviously more people will be relying on 99 and 185, especially if they live in Jurong West. Like, let's say East-West Line beyond Clementi is suspended or whatever, they can take any of these two bus services to reach Jurong West instead of taking MRT to Boon Lay and changing feeder bus. So this is what MRT redundancy actually means. It doesn't necessarily duplicate all of MRT, but it duplicates enough of MRT stations for it to be considered useful. And both of them they are pitched towards not Boon-Lay Way, but like the inside corridor, which is Jurong West 71, Jurong East 71, which will not have MRT. And I mean, that's what you call MRT redundancy. It doesn't fully duplicate, but it is useful in its own aspect when the MRT is running fine. Now, the eastern sector of East-West Line, there is Service 2. So what Service 2 does is that, okay, you can even say, okay, before I go to Service 2, okay, from Commonwealth, Queenstown, Red Hill, and Tiong Bahru, you could say that there is like 122 from here to here, and then from East-West 18 to 20, there is like 145, stuff like that. And then 17 to 19, okay, at most 33 takes you like this. It's not even to East-West 19, but like this. And then there's like 195. These are more of like, these are not redundancy bus services. These are more of like alternative travel options, if you would put it. So yeah, and then obviously from East-West 19 to like 20 as well. So yeah, but the concept of it is there. It's like 145 serves East-West 18, 19, and 20. So when MRT is down, so obviously you would take 145, and then see 145 goes to Buona Vista, right? East-West 21 as well. Technically, there's one more. So once you touch Buona Vista, you already have access to 185. So East-West 23 to 18, it's pretty much covered by 185 and 145. And then when you hit East-West 23, you have the option of taking 99. So this is how the MRT redundant. Obviously, there's free bridging bus. That's one thing. But these services are here to help out. And how they help out is that they don't fully duplicate the MRT, but they take you from various MRT stations to the places that you actually need to go, like the places whereby people actually live along, like Jurong West, Jurong East 71. So yeah. Okay, now on to Service 2, like for real. So Service 2, the reason why it's an East-West Line redundancy service is because, you know, from Outram Park, and then to Bugis, it actually winds a bit like through the CBD, right? East-West Line. And then there is actually Northeast Line that, okay, there's Clarke Quay, there's Dhoby Ghaut like this. The reason why a lot of these like East-West Line parallels, they do not get cut is because, well, Chinatown is one thing. From Outram Park to Bugis, to Lavender, Kallang, and beyond, Service 2 is one example of a service that helps you bridge between Outram Park, Chinatown, and then Bugis along this like huge corridor with a lot of bus services. And NEL, it goes to Dhoby Ghaut. It doesn't go to like Bugis or anything. So yeah, I've always found it interesting that 147 used to go via Bugis, Lavender Street, and then to Boon King, rather than going via the Little India route. But then it got amended to the Little India route, and then right now it stays along the Little India route as a Northeast Line redundancy bus service. But okay, that aside, Service 2 bridges East-West 16 and 12, and then all the way till Tanah Merah. Then it goes to Somapah. It goes to like DTL Upper Changi. So it helps bridge everything together. And not just that. You know the East-West Line is along Sims Avenue, right? So along Changi Road and Geylang Road, there is access penalty. So obviously the people along Changi Road and Geylang Road, they will be relying on Service 2. And even along the Sims Avenue direction, I've already explained. Not every single bus stop is served by an MRT station. So all the intermediate bus stops, they would rely on the bus services more. So it's like they don't even have to like transfer to the MRT. As long as you're along Sims Avenue, you could just take bus from like an intermediate stop to another intermediate stop, or from intermediate stop to MRT, from MRT to intermediate stop, or even MRT to MRT. If you find taking MRT is like way too inconvenient for you, then that's okay. If the bus just arrives, then obviously you would take the bus. You wouldn't want to walk to the MRT station. But yeah, this is how it's supposed to work. with regards to like Service 2 being an MRT Redundancy Bus Service. And not just that, Service 2 technically has that Bedok Road, Upper Changi Road, and then going back to DTL Upper Changi Station. It kind of acts like a feeder because it doesn't go along the outside like Service 12 does. This one actually goes inside and actually serves the private estate nearby, as an inside Upper Changi Road. So all these kinds of things are what makes the East-West are what makes MRT redundancy bus services relevant even when the MRT is still operating fine. It's just that they happen to take on the role of MRT redundancy bus service when there is a breakdown. So these are what these services are supposed to do. And then the next one is 67. This one is a famous example. I would say 65 as well, but okay. 67. From DT1 all the way till Little India, it duplicates. But the reason why they tried to cut it in 2017 but realized that it's not a good thing because there are way too many people along the intermediate stops to be able to, it's just not worth it, like, you know. So because of all the intermediate stops, 67 actually becomes useful because it's the only bus service that like links all the poorly connected bus stops that don't have immediate access to DTL. They don't even have to hub spoke to DTL. They can just take 67 forever, you know. And not just that, this thing then goes on to Little India. So there is like this sector which is like kind of inaccessible via MRT. There is Serangoon Road, there is Jalan Besar, there's Lavender Street, and 67 effectively bridges these two areas to Kallang. And not just that, even beyond Kallang as well, because as I've explained with Service 2, like, you know, this entire sector, there is like the access penalty when it comes to East-West line. 67 does the same thing, except that it only does it till Bedok. Then it links it back to the downtown line area and then to Tampines. Because 67 bridges this area with this, like, it's the only bus service that bridges Little India with Kallang. It's like, it bridges purple and blue to green and then green to blue again. That's the reason why 67 can survive. And also because of the intermediate stops as well. So yeah, that's about it for East-West line. And then now, North-South line, there isn't necessarily a bus redundancy bus service. There isn't necessarily a like MRT redundancy bus service, because unless you can tell me like from Novena to Bishan there is like, I don't know, 56, 57 maybe, but the most prominent one that I can tell you is actually 851. 851 kind of is, because remember there is, again, I'm using orange for Thomson East Coast line, and then red is for North-South line. 851 though, okay, like, you know, this vertical line of Thomson East Coast line and then this vertical line of like North-South line, they are their own corridors. And 851 in itself, it's not an MRT. It just so happens that this corridor is not as high demand as like the other two. 851 is its own corridor. So obviously there's Yishun, Khatib, and Yio Chu Kang. And 851 actually serves all the intermediate stops in between Yishun, Khatib, and Yio Chu Kang as well. So yeah, that's the usefulness of 851. It's kind of doorstep, and from there on it diverges away from NSL until it touches Novena again. And then from Novena it diverges away from NSL again. And this pattern basically what MRT redundancy means. I know I'm drawing it like this, but in real life, you know that 851 up till Novena is actually straight, and even Kampong Java, KK Hospital, to Bugis, to Chinatown, it's all straight as well. And not just that, it's the exact same thing from here to here. There's 851 here as well. And 851 also bridges Tiong Bahru and Henderson. Henderson doesn't have a lot of connection to the outside world, so 851 is actually useful for them to get to like Chinatown, Bugis, and Rochor. So back to the MRT redundancy part. How should I say it? Marymount Road, Ang Mo Kio Avenue 6. It's way too far away from either TEL and North-South line. Effectively, this thing is its own like public transit corridor in this case. I shouldn't say transit because you might get confused with transition, which is like transiting from one thing to another, but like I should just say public transport corridor. So yeah, you can just effectively say 851 is in between North-South line and TEL, and it's its own corridor. And obviously when North-South line fails, 851 becomes the other option from Novena all the way till like Yio Chu Kang, Khatib, and Yishun. This is how MRT Redundancy Bus Service is supposed to function. And then the other one, I know it's quite but like 147 from Outram Park all the way till Serangoon. Actually, I can use this to explain 74 as well. So Outram Park to Serangoon, there is technically this one sector whereby there is a north-south line, northeast line, and then downtown line. I speak faster than I think, I'm sorry. You could even take 23 to bridge the gap from blue to purple via Rochor Canal Road. So yeah, because 147, it goes to Jalan Besar, it goes Bendemeer Road, Jalan Besar, especially Jalan Besar, which has no immediate NEL access. So this alone makes 147 popular. And not just that, I wouldn't even be surprised if in the intermediate stops, they don't even take NEL, they just straight up take 147 to the other intermediate stops in between Northeast Line stations because it's convenient. So yeah, 147 basically, up to Serangoon. It's functioning as MRT redundancy between Outram Park and Serangoon. And then there is also this part, Yio Chu Kang Road, Hougang Avenue 2, Hougang Avenue 8, Upper Serangoon Road, Hougang Central bus interchange, which is like unique. And then there's also... Hi guys, I'm so sorry if I lose my train of thought because the interviewer took 30 fucking minutes to ask questions. Okay, whatever. Piss the fuck off. Okay, never mind. Okay, so where was I? I was saying that 147... Okay, let's try this again. 147 technically has this MRT redundancy bus service part, and then there is this like unique sector that is also shared with 74. Because the difference is that 74 goes to Ang Mo Kio, Marymount, and then 147 goes down via Serangoon. So another reason why both of them would never get rationalized is simply because of this Avenue 8 and Avenue 2, Avenue 8, and Upper Serangoon Road part that no other bus service offers. God damn it, I just took 10 minutes to recover my train of thought because of these fucking interviewers. Okay, so anyways, MRT duplication part, and then there is this Hougang Avenue 8 part, because Hougang Avenue 8 doesn't have any immediate access to MRT. That's why 147 and 74 would remain popular. So that's one. And then when you talk about 107, it's from Boon King, and then over here it's what's it called? Gilang Baru, Bendemeer Gilang Baru. So it's kind of like the exact same thing. Only one side has NEL, the other side has DTL. So 107 would be useful also. And 107, unlike 147, it actually goes to like Kovan and then to Hougang. So yeah. You guys need to feel the pain of like unscripted stuff and how we have it more difficult than the people who script all their shit all the time and making it like not genuine. Oh my god, I am so frustrated. But okay, but you get the whole point, right? That for Northeast Line, there is this thing, there is this thing. And the reason why they can do the MRT, using this diagram, why they can do the MRT bus redundancy thing is literally because of the intermediate stops, as well as the fact that it doesn't necessarily duplicate the entire NEL. 107 is just Boon King to Hougang. 147 is just Outram Park to Serangoon. It's like part by part. It's like section by section by section. There are different MRT redundancy bus services. And then whilst I just talked about 147 and 107, albeit it not being smooth because I got fucking interrupted by people at the door. Okay, so 74. Anyways, the one reason why this service will never ever get rationalized is actually because of Marymount. Let's improvise. I know my train of thought has been disrupted, but let's improvise. So Marymount, and then there is this whole CRL sector. But then the CRL sector is technically only up till like, I think Tavistock or Serangoon North. I cannot remember which one it is. There is this sector that has no access to CRL, which is Hougang Avenue 8. And then there is Marymount over here, which is its own corridor. And then obviously to King Albert Park. This entire sector, in between King Albert Park and then Marymount, there is no CRL at all. So obviously, if you're coming from like, let's say, Hougang Avenue 8, instead of like transferring to Cross Island Line and then, dude, is my phone hot or something? God damn it, never mind. I literally held this phone for like 30 minutes. God damn it, I hate you guys. Okay, so 74. Instead of like taking it as a feeder, like using it as a feeder bus to reach CRL and then going back to downtown line again, geographically this makes much more sense rather than like and then okay. So because of that, if you're coming from like the intermediate stops, like let's say for example Hwa Chong Institute, Tan Kah Kee, 6th Avenue, you know, from intermediate stop to intermediate stop, you would rather take 147. Sorry, you would rather take 74. Just like in the case of 190, you don't have good access to DTL, or you're inside inner Bukit Panjang, which has no DTL access like immediate. So obviously, you would take these to Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut, as opposed to like taking MRT, which is just a pain in the ass. So yeah. And then 74, yes, there is Neon Poly as well, I think. And then it's kind of like quite far away from both Beauty World and then King Albert Park as well. And then there is like CRL Maju Station, but like Neon Poly is like in between. So again, it just like how Tan Kah Kee is like an intermediate stop, even though it has an MRT station in the context of like 74 when relating it to Cross Island Line, Neon Poly is also one of the intermediate stops. And not to mention that 74, there is also this like one unique sector that's is the only bus service that turns from Clementi Road. Again, not all Clementi Road is served by Cross Island Line. And then to Dover. And then from Dover, there is this additional hub spoke section, which is like super important. It's Dover Road, which is where all most of the famous or infamous schools are located at. And then obviously there is like the whole innovation district where 91 and 191 apply, except that 74 applies outside. All of this is demand. Like you have demand from Dover all the way till here, and then from demand from Clementi all the way till here as well. So all of these reasons, with Marymount being the most important one, because Marymount has like poor connection to the outside world, aside from like 851, which takes you north south, and then 74, which takes you from southwest to northeast and vice versa. So yeah, that's the reason why 74 is actually a good Cross Island Line redundancy bus service. When it poofs out, 74 can help out, and even 165 to some extent can help out, although 74 is like actually a bigger help when it comes to like Cross Island Line. Okay, I found my groove back. Thank fuck for that. 851. Okay, I've talked about like NEL. Yeah, NEL. And then obviously from Serangoon to Pongo, there's like 82 and then a few other services. Even 43 helps as well, because 43 is technically not redundancy bus service, but it does serve like Buangkok. It does serve Pongo, and it does serve Serangoon. So it's like this, like this, and then like this. It's kind of like NEL is straight, and then 43, just like in the case of like 99 and 185, 43 does take you from like this and then like this. So obviously MRT is faster, but 43, it's like if MRT poofs out and you want to find an alternative, then yeah, you can take 43. So that's one option. And then in the future, there would also be this one changing to, it's going to renumber to 104. So this route will no longer exist. It'll become 104. So yeah. So that's for northeast line. And then cross, it's a circle line 93. So when you talk about 93, obviously there is like the sector, and 93 isn't even the same as like, okay, because from Farrer Road to Harbourfront, I would say up till like Labrador Park, there is this entire sector that, okay, 855, it serves Jalan Bukit Merah, Lower Delta Road, and then Harbourfront, right? 93 is its own corridor, and then this corridor isn't served by MRT at all, so obviously 93 would tank a lot of demand from like somewhere near Farrer Road. Okay, not really Farrer Road, but more of like Queensway to Harbourfront as well. And then, not just that, 93 from Farrer Road, it actually kind of skips. It's like from Farrer Road to, I think, Bartley. It actually, okay, Circle Line actually goes up north a little bit, and then, sorry, like this, and then goes up north, like it winds a little bit. But from Farrer Road, if you want a direct bus service to Bartley without having to squeeze on board CCL and then throw like this geographically, you could just take 93 to cross it. And then CCL from Bartley, it goes to like Tai Seng, right? And then down to Paya Lebar. Well, 93 does go to Tai Seng, but then it doesn't continue on to like MacPherson. It actually diverts to Airport Road and then UNOS. It actually links UNOS link to Upper Paya Lebar Road. So because of all these unique connections that CCL does, so 93, it duplicates CCL. The farebox recovery rate isn't that good, that's why it's OTA. But having said that, 93 has a lot of unique connections that CCL just doesn't offer. Obviously, 93 used to have like Volvo Olympian 2 axles and then stuff like that. But then ever since CCL, they removed like the double deckers on 93. But even with that, 93 still has a lot of unique connections that makes it impossible to just withdraw. And then CCL, there's technically one more redundancy bus service called Service 70. So 70 is obviously it's a bus service that caters towards the entire corridor of Yio Chu Kang Road because 854 goes Hougang Avenue 2, right? So 70 is the only one that like serves almost the entire Yio Chu Kang Road. I mean, up till the industrial estate, it turns into Street 64, then 63, then Avenue 9, then Yio Chu Kang. So yeah. So outside of being a CCL clone per se, 70 has its own use beyond CCL because CCL goes Lorong Chuan, right? Well, Service 70 actually goes on to become its own bus corridor. That is what it means to be a bus redundancy, MRT redundancy bus service. I keep messing this up, I'm sorry. So, and obviously from like Serangoon all the way till Nicoll Highway, the thing pretty much duplicates CCL, except one sector known as Guillemard Road. Guillemard Road, it's the only link between Guillemard. It literally feeds Guillemard Road to Nicoll Highway, and it feeds Guillemard Road to Paya Lebar and then up north. So this thing and CCL, they kind of do the same thing, but then you realize that 70 serves the intermediate stops, whereas CCL is like technically the faster underground version. So yeah, you can see it that way. And then what else do I have? A red, green, purple, yellow. Okay, downtown line I've explained already with like 67 and 65. 65 is kind of self-explanatory because again it's the whole purple and blue thing along Little India, and then the thing just duplicates DTL. But 65 is needed because in the event that DTL goes poof, you literally only have this one service left to rely on, because 67 diverges to East-West Line and Little India, right? 65 is literally the only one that clones this sector. But the reason why 65 is able to survive is because 65 serves Orchard. It serves, Orchard Road, Orchard Boulevard, you get the idea. And then it serves River Valley, Delta Road, Lower Delta Road, Harbourfront. So beyond Dhoby Ghat, this entire sector is like actually unique. It's the fastest way from Harbourfront to River Valley Road, and then and then again Lucky Plaza. A lot of people take 65 to Lucky Plaza, especially weekends. You can just observe it. Even if it's running at like say 20-minute frequencies, it's fine. Like as long as the double deckers get like filled up, I don't even mind 20 minutes, because 518 is like more or less the same thing. It's just 518 is faster. So yeah, this is the reason why 65 can survive. Again, is because it has its own unique sectors. Not just being an MRT clone, but even as it clones MRT, it has its own purpose, like all the intermediate stops and stuff like that. They all have their unique sectors. And then what else can I say? I got the blue line already. Then the next one is, I've already described JRL, because JRL in the previous there is this one pair of bus stops that is only served by 179. It's this pair, the one at block 840 and 948. Only 179 goes here, and there is no JRL. Similarly, you see Bahar Junction is here, right? Well, this bus stop is too far away from Bahar Junction. Over here, there's 199. Over here, there's 199. 199 gets a lot of demand at this pair of bus stops. And then obviously it serves the dormitories, which is like, this area doesn't have JRL. This is where JRL is. So obviously 179, this area is going to prevent it from rationalization. And then 199, this entire Jalan Bahar corridor as well as the dorm areas are going to prevent it from like just outright rationalization. Fleet downsize, maybe. Fleet reduction, maybe. But just not outright withdrawal. Maybe some minor route amendments, yeah, it's possible as well. Like maybe inside this area, I don't know. Maybe inside Nanyang Crescent, I don't know. But like, yeah, it's just not going to get withdrawn or anything. And then, okay, I will talk about TEL first, because many people have been debating the whole 167 and 980 thing. So just to clarify with you guys, this bus service has already been spared from any further rationalization. They're gonna keep it at 30 minutes. They don't want to degrade it further, maybe a little bit more, but like they don't want to cut this bus service anymore. They completely given up already. I know in the official news articles it says otherwise, but Intel told me that like, and even people from like Toilet Transit have been saying that this service is now permanent at 30-minute frequencies. They're not gonna cut it or anything. So even then, the reason why they picked 980 is because 980 after what's that station called? Upper Thomson Road. Okay. And then 167 technically has Orchard. 167 is technically not just a TEL clone. This thing is also low-key an NSL clone, like from Sembawang to like an express version to like Novena and then Orchard. So this thing kind of like clones two MRT lines. So because of that, it's very hard to like justify it as a MRT redundancy bus service. 67 can be justified because it bridges DTL and East-West Line. This one doesn't really bridge TL and NSL. This one just kind of like dupes both in essence. So yeah. And the reason why 980 is because they chose it as MRT redundancy bus service even up till now is because this thing doesn't really like dupe TEL all the way till Orchard or anything. This thing actually diverges and becomes its own bus route. So when picking an MRT redundancy bus service, they're not going to pick one that has a high degree of duplication. They're going to pick one that has some degree of duplication but has its own unique sector that's enough to make the route sustainable outside of bus outside of like MRT disruption. So even when 980 is operating normally, like, okay, what am I saying? I mean, even when there is no MRT disruption, this bus service is still able to like be sustainable. Like, for example, Kampong Java, Middle Road, Beach Road, and then GL1. It has its own unique sector. Unlike 167, which is pretty much like a clone of both of them. A lot of people say 167 is a clone of TEL. That's not wrong. But technically, this thing also clones NSL in a way. So that's the reason why the more degree of duplication there is, the less chances of it that it'll be an MRT redundancy bus service. This one is picked because it has a lesser degree of duplication. 65 and 67, well, I just explained. They have their own unique sectors outside of the duplicated sectors, whereas 167 doesn't really have any unique sectors, minus like Cecil Street or anything. And then TEL, there is technically 75, 121 as well for their respective sectors, as well as 400. Look, I know people say 400 is useless, but 400 is literally one of their MRT redundancy bus services. From TE19, Shenton Way, wait, is it? Shenton Way, Marina Bay, Marina South, and and Gardens by the Bay. 400 is supposed to be the one that tanks all these MRT stations when TEL is down. And the reason why they don't cut 400 is because it's literally the only bus service that's available there. So in that case, it's actually fine to keep 400 as it is, even though its fare box recovery rate is still between 10 to like 15%. But it's okay because it is the only bus service there. It's a similar thing as to how I wouldn't be surprised if 11 and 158 get extended down to Founders Memorial ITH or just loop there, but yeah. I think 158 can terminate there. 11 can loop there, but yeah, you get the idea. That these bus services, this one is for Napier, Great World, and Havelock, and then from Havelock to Outram Park to Shenton Way, there's 121. I don't count Maxwell because Maxwell technically has 970, so not immediately at like Maxwell's station box or the exits, but in essence, you could say that like 970 is kind of helping TEL out because both of them, their routes are like slightly different. So it's not like they're gonna duplicate or anything. It's just this entire series of buses is basically meant to help TEL out in essence. That's why they even amended 121 to Shenton Way in the first place. Okay, I'm just glad I recovered from that whole thingy just now. Okay, what's the next one? I think it's oh wait, I forgot about TEL4. There is one thing about TEL4. 16 is not related to TEL in a way because it's Juchet and Dunman. It's its own, like from Orchard to Nickel Highway and then to Mountbatten and Old Airport, Dunman and Juchet. There is no MRT line that serves this. So 16 and TEL, just I want to clarify this before anybody says anything else. They are not related. Whereas there is one bus service that kind of is a redundancy. It's not 196E, it's actually 196. Because 196, as I've explained before, okay, I need to erase this before it gets too confusing. I mean, technically I could have just continued here, like 14E, 16, whatever. Okay, but 196 from CBD to Nickel Highway. Again, Nickel Highway has no TEL, keep that in mind. To Nickel Highway and then to Mountbatten. Mountbatten itself, it's a unique sector because 12 goes to GL1, 14 goes to Orchard, and then 196 is the only one that goes to the CBD. And 196 is the only, because 12 and 14, they go along Upper East Coast and East Coast. 196 actually goes inside to Parkway Parade and then goes inside to Marine Crescent and Terrace. And Marine Crescent and Terrace, okay, this is Bedok. Marine Crescent and Terrace is literally the one thing that'll prevent 196 from being rationalized because Mountbatten Road, not every single part of Mountbatten Road has access to like Katong Park or like Tanjong Katong MRT station. In fact, the upper half of like Mountbatten just doesn't have any MRT that can take you to Marine Parade. So to be specific, it's like Mountbatten MRT. See, again, it bridges It bridges Circle Line and Thompson East Coast Line. There is absolutely no reason to like cut 196 at all, unless you want Service 12 to like troll like this, and then you tell people that like, oh, if you want to go Bedok, then you have to like compromise Siglap and then take 16 to Bedok or whatever. But like, realistically, do you really think they're gonna make Service 12 go inside Marine Crescent and Terrace and Parkway Parade? I don't know, but like 196 to me is the only thing that can help out TEL when TEL is down. And 196 is like, it's not even like a low demand service by any means. In fact, as I've told you, Mountbatten to Parkway Parade is unique. Mountbatten to Marine Crescent is also unique. There is literally no other bus service that does this. So yeah, 196, weekdays you can run it normally. Weekends you can OTA, you can downsize to single deckers, you can run it at 20 to 22 minutes. I don't care, but like, I'd rather you just keep degrading the weekend if it's not that useful, Because it's not like there's zero demand from like, let's say, Esplanade area. It's like 196 is kind of like a sightseeing route to like East Coast. You can access East Coast Park because 401 it doesn't go to like, I mean, it used to go to like Tomlinson, right? But right now there's only 196 that takes you as far as Nickel Highway and Esplanade, right? So it's not like 196 has no demand. There is actually still demand. Like, people will take 196 or 197 if they're coming from Bedok Interchange, and if they're at the MRT, they'll take 31. So whichever one comes first, 196 or 197, they'll take it to like Siglap, the Marine Parade area. And if they're going to like Marine Crescent and Terrace, they have like 16 and 196. It's better to have like two bus services as compared to like just one. So keeping this all in mind, and 196's technically unique stretch, despite people saying it duplicates MRT. Well, it kind of does, but like especially from like Katong Park to like Sigla. Okay, it kind of does, but like it has its own use. Like Esplanade, Nickel Highway, Mountbatten it's a unique part of 196. That's the selling point of 196, and the tourists, I'm not even surprised if they take it between Esplanade and Parkway Parade, and then they go to East Coast Park or something, or they go food shopping along this. Because East Coast Road, Marine Parade, there's a lot of like those cafes, restaurants, and stuff like that, or even like hawker centers, or like food courts. I don't know. There are quite a few like food options along this area, be it inexpensive, cheap, or like local, international cuisine. There is still reason for 196 to exist, and the only way I can ever see 196 being rational, I'm just saying hypothetically, the only way I can ever see 196 being rationalized is if they actually make service. 14 is already windy, so if they make service 12 actually, like, again, go inside and then exit via Siglap Road like this, like this, then it'll go to Bedok South Road, to Bedok South Avenue 3 and stuff like that. But again, I still think 12 is like, it's unrealistic for them to. 14 is unrealistic, but even I think Service 12 is unrealistic. Splitting 196's route, okay, that's fine as well, but like, I don't think it's fair for 196 to lose any of its like existing sectors. You want to split it, okay, fine, but just don't cut the existing sectors, because Esplanade, Nickel Highway, they still need like buses to like Mountbatten and Marine Parade. Simple reason, like, because TEL is at Shenton Way. Anything above Shenton Way, like, Fullerton, Esplanade, Nickel Highway, Mountbatten, they all need access to like Marine Parade at the minimum, because Marine Parade is where all the amenities are at, or even the tourist locations. I don't know, but you get the idea why 196 is technically the redundancy bus service for Thompson East Coast Line. Then when it comes to LRT, I think it's for Sengkang and Punggol, there's no bus service that completely duplicates the LRT. And most there's like 50 or like 62. And then Punggol Central, which has no LRT, there's like 85. And then for Sengkang East Loop, there's like 371. There's like 86 as well. And then there's also 119 and 136. Just, 136. There's just different options when it comes to like the Sengkang, when it comes to like the LRT areas. And then there's even like 163, there is 50, there is this, what you call that, 374. There's even like 102 and stuff like that. So wherever LRT doesn't touch, there are buses. And then obviously like the Punggol West, there is 84, 384. There's gonna be this. There's 673, although whatever. There's 34 as well. The 673 is a CDS, so I don't think it's like fair to touch on that. And then BPLRT. BPLRT, let me just show you. There's this. There are people taking 976 from like lot 1, like legit, all the way to inside Senja. I'm not even joking. Because there simply just isn't. Bukit Panjang is over here, so I'm not even surprised if they have 190 as well, or 975. But I have seen people actually taking 976 to here if it comes first. But mostly they are going towards like this pair of bus stops, or going like inside Senja. So 976, Senja has no LRT. This stretch of road is unique. Segar Road, inside there is no LRT. Bukit Panjang Ring Road, Zhenghua Nature Park, Beacon Primary, there is no BPLRT here. That is why 976 is so useful. It's a school bus. So yeah, 976 is one of those. It was meant to be a temporary service, but right now it's permanent and its demand is really high, especially during weekdays, school days. Weekend, you can just OTA it. And even when you OTA it, even at night, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., there will still be people taking it from lot 1 to access Senja Road, Segar Road, Bukit Panjang Ring Road, because there is no BPLRT. It's not because they don't like BPLRT, it's just 976 is just way more convenient for them, even though it's like not the fastest bus route by any means, but yeah. Obviously BPS1 was faster, but like 976 is like way more sustainable. That's why 976 is like it runs every day. You get the idea. And then the last one I want to talk about is CRL. I talked about like 74, but then there's technically a few more. 72 is not going to be affected by Cross Island Line is because 72 doesn't even go inside Tampines North. In fact, it'll stay because it links Tampines with Hougang. It's the fastest link between Tampines and Hougang because CRL does not touch Tampines. This one I don't really have to elaborate. 81, Kovan has no CRL. Upper Serangoon Road, Hougang Avenue 3, and then Tampines Road. This entire, okay, there's Defu over here, but like whatever. If you're boarding from Kovan, and then you're going to like Pasir Ris, Drive 1, not every single Pasir Ris Drive 1 bus stop has access to CRL, obviously. That's why 81 will still remain popular from Kovan to any of the intermediate stops with no CRL along Pasir Ris Drive 1. Simple as that. And then 81 is like also the only link between Tampines Avenue 7, not the site that has like 3 and 39, but like Tampines Avenue 7 in between Avenue 4 and Avenue 2 and 9. It's the only link between Tampines Avenue 7 and Pasir Ris Drive 1. Even outside of the duplicated sector, 81 has its unique sector. And then there is another one called 53. Before I talk about 53 though, I just want to say that all of these bus services, they are their own corridor and no MRT can ever replace them. Yes, you can have an MRT line from Seletar Airport to Yishun East to Sembawang to Woodlands North, but these are completely different corridors when you compare it with all of these. It's different. Like this one has Khatib, and then this one has Woodlands Avenue 2, and then this one has Sengkang, which has no CRL at all. And then this one has Tampines, which has no CRL as well. The demand from Tampines is like sky high. And then this thing has TP bus stop, Well, this, and this, all of them have TPE bus stop, which they are not even near like CRL to Pongo in any way. It's like TPE bus stop is its own corridor. That's the reason why even when you have Northern Region Line, North Shore Line, whatever you call it, it's not going to affect any of these bus services. Even 110, it's from Buangkok and Anchorvale, which has no access to CRL. That's why. Okay, now back to the last one that I want to talk about, which is 53. Well, 53, look, 53 and 58 are the only... Okay, I'll talk about 58 later. 53 is the only one. Bishan Street 14, Lorong Chuan, Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1, Lorong Chuan, Serangoon Central, and then Lorong Asu, and then, you know, like this to Defu. Beyond Defu, 53 literally links up Cross Island Line. Okay, wrong color, but you get the idea. And it literally bridges Cross Island Line to Circle Line. Like you know, Circle Line is at Serangoon. It bridges Defu to... It literally is a bridge, just like the logic of like 67 between Little India and Kallang. 53 does a similar job, bridging this and this. And then it's also an alternative from Serangoon to Bishan. That kind of skips Lorong Chuan. Because of this, 53 will never get rationalized. And not just that, I've already talked about 81, how it has its own... how 81, not all of Pasir Ris Drive 1 is served by CRL. All the intermediate stops, there are a lot of them. I think there's up to like 19 or 20 I cannot remember, bus stops. But like, all the intermediate stops, they don't just depend on 81. 81 goes to Kovan. 53's demand is at Hougang Avenue 1 and Lorong Asu. 53 goes inside, 81 goes outside. And don't ever fucking try to swap these two sectors. No, you're delusional if you do that. But this thing and this thing, both of them are pitched from Kovan and 53's respective areas to Pasir Ris Drive 1, which not all of the stops have CRL. And then 53, it's literally the only option from Pasir Ris to Changi Airport. Because Terminals 1 to 3 doesn't serve 4, but technically it serves Terminal 4 outside. At Airport Boulevard, you just board at the Airport Boulevard bus stop. Because CRL goes one big round and takes you to T5. If you're going to Terminal 1 to 3, you take 53. If you're going to T5, you take CRL. It's simple. This catchment and this catchment are completely different. Not to mention that 53 is literally the only option from Changi Airport to Loyang Avenue. I'm gonna be specific. From Changi Airport to Loyang Avenue, this pair of bus stops, which has how many bus services? Discounting this one. 3, 9, 12, 19, 21, 39, 53, 59, 81. Okay, discounting 53, 81, 518, and then the rest. And because of that, this is why 53 has to stay. Like, again, not every single Pasir Ris Drive 1 bus stop has MRT. Now, on to my favorite service. Save the best for the last. 58, Bishan, Lorong Chuan, Serangoon. Like this. If Circle Line happens to poof out, 58 would get shitloads of demand from Lorong Chuan. Especially during the school dismissal hours, if CCL just happens to poof out. And even during dismissal hours, you see 58, 73, 105, what else is there? 159, whatever other service that passes by there. These services all kind of get choked at Lorong Chuan because there are lots of like international schools, and then there's like NYJC, Nanyang JC if I'm not mistaken, which is like one of the top JCs in Singapore right now, I think. Look, like this thing, and then Upper Paya Lebar Road, there is no CCL here. Bartley there is, but Upper Paya Lebar Road, there is no CCL over here. And then to Tai Seng. And from Tai Seng, this thing, 58's demand just explodes at Tai Seng because it doesn't touch McPherson. It goes inside Ubi Avenue 3, which is its unique sector. You see, 58 just has so many unique sectors, like from Ubi Avenue 3, Ubi Avenue 3, Eunos Link, Kaki Bukit Avenue 1, and then it beelines straight up to Pasir Ris West via IKEA Tampines. You see, like, even the sectors that sort of like clone DTL a little bit, 58 technically only touches LES, so it's not even like touching CRL at all. Because the CRL is at Tampines North. 58 doesn't even go anywhere near Tampines North. It goes outside, and the outside area will get a lot of demand once PLAB's HDB estate develops. You know, like the Circle Line sector, not every single part. 58 is meant to be a complement to Circle Line, and Upper Paya Lebar Road has no CCL, and Ubi Avenue 3 is unique. And then this whole stretch in between Pasir Ris West and Kaki Bukit is unique. 58 literally hub spokes from Pasir Ris West to Downtown Line. Because 58 brings people to the MRT, and some people even take 58 from Ubi all the way to like Pasir Ris West, long distance. Or like IKEA Tampines, that is, if they're going to Pasir Ris Drive 1. Or maybe the stop after, but like, you get what I mean? It's like, this thing, I will foresee that like the demand at PLAB would just explode in years to come, because 58 is the only straight line link between Pasir Ris West and Kaki Bukit MRT. 58 is one of the services whereby it's like it does its job as a longer, not medium, long-ish distance service. It also does a good job at hub spoking people to the MRT. 58 in itself, it's its own corridor, especially at Tampines Avenue 10. This is what it means by MRT Redundancy Bus Service. And when you're talking about 58, technically you could also mention one more, which is 24. Ang Mo Kio to Serangoon, it allows you to skip Bishan. You can just take a bus there. There's like also 22, but who cares? I mean, 22 goes to next, 24 goes Boundary Road. And then this thing clones CCL and East-West line. And then it doesn't necessarily clone it doesn't even go Expo. It goes like Upper Changi Road East, and then it goes Upper Changi, and then it goes to Changi Airport. So this one is another one whereby it doesn't really duplicate. It duplicates MRT, but not completely, if you get what I mean. Because Upper Paya Lebar Road doesn't have MRT, because the MRT is at Bartley. This thing at 58, the same thing. Several sector, okay, like MRT redundancy is more of like several sectors, they will duplicate like MRT lines. Just several sectors, and then several sectors. And then the MRT redundancy bus services also, in some cases, they bridge across the lines or help you skip. They bridge from MRT line to MRT line or from place to place, or they allow you to just outright skip the annoying transfers. Even 853 is an example. From Yishun to Aljunied, there is no good MRT, Kallang. But 853M technically kind of touches Aljunied a little bit, but 853/M is kind of one of those cases whereby it allows you to avoid North-South line, Circle line, and Northeast line. It's an alternative option. Like, it allows you to skip all these annoying transfers and avoid having to squeeze in the train. And for those idiots that keep saying 13 and 853 is the same thing, no! 13 goes to Bishan North, 853 goes to like Lorong Chuan. And not just that, 13 serves outside Serangoon Road, Bendemeer Road, Lavender Street. 853 goes inside Geylang Bahru, Kallang Bahru, Boon King Road, and then yeah. So if you say, oh my god, 853 duplicates 107 a lot, then you need to get a grip, because 853 has use outside of like, look, in case I still have to convince you idiots that these two are not the same thing, 107 serves Kallang Bahru, 853 serves Boon King Road, and then GL1 as well. 107 doesn't touch here. 13, you have to walk to this bus stop or this bus stop. If you live here, you have 853, and 853 is of convenience. Like, you could take 853, you could take 13 to access this stop or this stop. But obviously, if you're going up, there's 853 here, which is convenience. And this area, there's quite a bit of elderly population as well. I mean, this area, this whole Jalan Besar area in general. That's why, if anybody tells you 13 and 853 and 107 duplicate each other, they are full of shit, okay? So that's why, like, 853 and 24, they allow you to skip all of these annoying transfers. Yeah, so the purpose of, like, as I've explained, bridge areas, duplicate MRT lines, but not completely, help you skip, and then they help you skip all these annoying MRT transfers. That is the essence of a MRT redundancy bus service. Not whatever nonsense you come up with, like, this. No! 107 and 147 would render all of them literally useless. You just need one or two of them to be the MRT redundancy bus service. You don't need like freaking 6 to 8 of them, okay? Even if there's no MRT, these all will get rationalized. So, to those commenters who keep saying, I want to keep all of these NEL bus services, then what the fuck is the purpose of these 2 bus services? So, the moral of the story is, just think before you talk. And even if I bring up 88, I've brought up 88 in like previous videos already. And then 89, this one, okay, technically this one is another one last one. How come there's CRL? But Pongo Road, Compassvale Road, Sengkang, there is no CRL. At TPE, there is no CRL. Pasir Ris Drive 1, not every single bus stop has CRL. Pasir Ris Central. Pasir Ris Drive 3, not every single... In fact, Pasir Ris Drive 3 doesn't even have CRL. It's only Elias, and that's like the western side. The entire eastern sector of 89, there's a mosque here, so people take 89 for Friday prayers as well. But like, 89's Pasir Ris Drive 3 sector is completely unique. That's why it will never get rationalized by Cross Island Line. And then Cross Island Line, yes, there is Loyang. But beyond Loyang, at Changi Village, Tolopaku Road, Nico Drive, and inside Changi Airport Cargo Complex, there is no Cross Island Line as well because it's a restricted area. Yes, you could run a feeder service from like Aviation Park to inside, but like history has proven that 19 and 89 would still continue to have demand even after Cross Island Line becomes a thing. If you deny that, you are delusional. Okay, when I mean 89, I mean 89E as well. 89E still has like crap loads of demand because Sengkang has no CRL, 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 Sengkang has no CRL. Obviously, if you give them a chance, they would just straight up ride bus all the way into Changi Airport Cargo Complex. Let me just remind you, yes, there might be people that take to Aviation Park and take any of the services. They prefer the hub smoke method. But that's only because their house is more or less doorstep to Cross Island Line. They find Cross Island Line much more convenient. But there is always bound to be people who find 89, 89E, 199 way more reliable as compared to Cross Island Line. Especially if 89, 19, or 9, they take them to their doorstep. Some people even want 19 to operate full day because they're complaining that Service 9 sucks, like the frequency at night. And it's unreliable. That's why.